Welcome to another episode of People Love Clapping, How Business Groups and Communities Grow. My name is Vikram Rajan. I'll be your host, and I'm also the co-founder of Video Socials, which is a business community as well, which is the reason I do this podcast, to interview leaders like Chris today, to learn from them, to promote their community, and quite frankly, to steal ideas from them. And I'm sure you will be able to get some great ideas about how he has grown and growing his business community. Video Socials, we have just over 120 members in about a dozen states, mainly lawyers and accountants. And as a community leader, so to speak, I don't always know what I'm doing. So for me to interview folks like Chris is really cool. You can find other episodes of People Love Clapping on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe and listen to this on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, just about all the major podcasting channels. And it's streamed live just about every week, Fridays, 1 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and LinkedIn. Today, I have Chris. Is it Chris Borja or Borja?
Yeah, Borja.
Borja.
Pronunciation. Yeah.
All right, great. And your community is called Connected, right? Connected Network. And I always begin backing up before even Connected started. Like, what was your journey like? Was there a community that impacted you in a hopefully positive way, but not necessarily, but impacted you, not necessarily a business community, but was there something in your childhood or young adult years that kind of clued you into the power of community? Was there any kind of community that made an impact on you, Chris?
Yeah, actually, there's a direct tie-in to my background because I was always very shy and introverted, literally my entire life. So I was the anti-social, anti-party, anti-gathering. If there's people there, I would find a convenient excuse to not be there.
Sure.
Any excuse would do, so you don't really need a good one. Anything would work. So anything from not feeling good or, you got an errand to run or whatever, that's good enough. But that was my background. So what got me started into the world of networking was being in a direct sales business, and I was looking for a different way to do it because I was tired of the cold calling and just constant, churn and burn and trying to just chase prospects around that seemed to be a lot faster than I was. So I didn't seem to do very well that way. And then I ran into a business networking event that was a speed networking. This was the first one I ever attended. And at that event, it was awkward. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was observing and watching, and I saw some people there that were getting referrals like right there on the spot. And people would come to them and just say, hey, here, I ran across this person. Can you help them out? Sure. Give me their card. I'll give them a call. I'll follow up with them. And later in that same event, somebody else, different person comes up to them, same story, hey, I ran across. And I was like, this looks like a lot easier than what I've been doing. If people come up to me, I'd probably close a lot more deals than me constantly, kind of like, the traditional old fashioned prospecting of talking to people every 3 feet that don't want to talk to you. So networking was like a way out for me originally. I was uncomfortable, still shy introvert, but was kind of starting to realize I wasn't going to stay there forever. I made a decision, and that's what actually transformed me into what I do now, because I started seeing benefits from a new way of marketing, which is through networking, relationship building. And that's what led me into starting my own group, starting to do training and all that kind of stuff.
So let's back up and talk about kind of the timeline here. So do you remember what year that was when you went to that first speed networking event?
Yeah, that was 2012.
So that's 2012. And you started Connected Network when? In what year?
2013.
Okay, so about a year in. Yeah, and so what made you kind of say, hey, I'm going to start my own network, as opposed to, let's say, piggybacking and being a member of either speed networking or another organized networking organization?
Yeah, so I was part of a number of different groups, networking groups and chambers, things like that. But what I saw there was missing was something that was comfortable for someone like me, somebody that is not normally out networking. And that's originally why I started it, was to create a comfortable space for people to connect, where it wasn't all just straight about the business. It wasn't all about like, hey, sign up for my group, but where we can just create that community and bring people together in a place where that's what you're supposed to do, is to meet. Because otherwise, out in the marketplace, you talk to somebody in line, you talk to somebody at the mall, whatever. It's not really like a business conversation.
Sure.
That's not, it's just small talk. But when you're at an event, then that you really have a business, but you can do it in a way where you're getting to know each other first, and then finding ways to help one another, collaborate, and those kind of things.
What was uncomfortable about those other groups where, their job, so to speak, as an organization is to kind of make it comfortable for you as a member? So were there any anecdotes or any kind of trigger where you said, no, this isn't for me, or it wasn't like the right fit?
Yeah, and definitely with each group, I don't want to overgeneralize, but I have to answer this question.
Well, you don't have to. Like, was there something specific that happened to you, or you witnessed?
So I'll share an example from a group, which is not representative of all of them, because I'll say most of them are good, but it's the strength of the group is the membership, right? The members are the ones that make the group. So I was in this one particular referral group that I was invited to as a guest.
Okay.
And I was sitting there, there's maybe about 20, 25 people that are in the room as well that were, members. And I was one of the few new people, maybe 2 or 3 of us that were new guests. I got to talk to the person that invited me and also the person that sat right next to me. And, we went through the whole program. Everyone did their elevator speeches. And then at the end, I'm still newer to this. I'm trying to meet as many people as I can. Everyone just kind of either ran out the door or circled up with people they already knew. And really not nobody, but very, very, very few people out of all 25-ish or so actually said hello to me and welcomed me. But they gave me an application to join the group. Like, hey, if you join our group, you could be part of it. We can send you referrals. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I think this is kind of backwards. I think if they had all greeted me, like say like every single person greeted me and said, hey, what's your name? Oh, Chris, welcome. I don't have time. I've got to run to an appointment. I just want to say welcome. Glad you're here. Looking forward to seeing you again. Then in that case, I would look at it like, how can I afford not to be part of this group? And I don't think they would have to try to recruit at all. I mean, because of just how awesome their group is, it's like, dude, sign me up. How much I got paid to be part of this? It's whatever it is, it's worth it just to be part of your community. But instead, it was more of like a join our group and you get to be one of us. And then after a while, to build a relationship, then we can start sending you people as we trust you. I was just like, that's not really a model that worked for me. Like I said, I don't want to overgeneralize because
but that specifically was off-putting and obviously uncomfortable and a missed opportunity from a business standpoint. You recognized as a potential customer member. Then you said, look, there has to be a better way, that if we can architect a community that was purposely welcoming of a new person, it's better for everyone.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, 2013, you started Connected Network. And how did you architect it? Like, how did you say, like, I want to create this? And you're in Ohio, right? Where in Ohio are you?
Yeah, so we're in the Columbus area.
And where is Connected Network? Like, where are all the places? You've got a pretty sizable community now. So
so when we started, we were in a suburb of Columbus called Dublin, and our original group was the Dublin Area Network Group, which ended up becoming the acronym DANG, right? So it was our DANG group. You meet all our DANG members.
It was Dublin Area
fun
with that
originally, but the design was to be small. It wasn't supposed to be like so broad that it doesn't have an identity. I wanted it to be known for the city that we started it in, because then people can form tighter bonds, right? Because you have a city in common. So I originally started in a small city called Dublin, not super small, but a suburb of Columbus. And then from there, it started to grow. And over time, we started having people coming from, even driving 2 or even 3 hours to come to some of our events, and then driving back home to pick up their kids from school. And I was like, there's something happening here that's a lot bigger than just the city. So it was branded as a city, but why would people come from all over the state of Ohio to this little city? And it was because of the community that we were creating. So that's how we ended up turning into Connected, which we just rebranded it in 2019. 2019, we rebranded as one group because we started spreading to different areas of the city. And so we rebranded as the Connected because we already had that for one of our groups. We consolidated 2 groups into the Connected Networking Group.
And so now you're in about 2 or 3 cities now, or 2 or 3 locales in Ohio. And we'll talk about the future, because I know you've got big plans as well. So, and you're in other locations currently, though, right? So outside of Ohio.
Right now, all of our events are in Columbus, but the range from there is pretty broad as far as the the reach. Some of them are maybe like an hour apart from end to end.
Right.
But yeah, so we have a number of different events. We currently have 8 events every single month.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what was that? Well, before I even go into how people interact, talk to me about the members. Who do you like joining? Who is it really not a fit for? Who do you find as kind of that ideal member who really gets a lot out of it? And then, of course, conversely, who is it not really for?
Yeah, it's the best fit for people that are naturally service oriented or focused, people that are somewhat averse to traditional sales, because it's kind of I don't know, it's a different thing. Like the people that come in, they're the traditional sales, like I need to get a prospect and it's just working the numbers type of thing.
Sure.
Typically is not a good fit for us, because it's kind of like, sometimes they look at people as prey, like that's their food, that's how they eat, that's how they pay their bills, and so they look at it as commodities. The people that do well in our group are the ones that look at people as who they are. They're people. And by doing that, what we've done is we've created a reverse funnel. So the traditional sales system is, the funnel starting at the top and you work your way down to eventually, 100 people, you get down to one sale at the end of the day. But what we're doing is really reversing that. So for example, as we meet and connect, if we try to sell each other our services, there's either a fit or not a fit, or I'm like, hey, I already know somebody in your field, so I don't really need your services. So there's not a reason to continue connecting. But as you and I connect and just get to know one another, now you have thousands of people in your network, I have thousands of people in my network. So that reverse funnel is like getting that one person to now turning into a referral source to all the people that I know. So it's like a change in mindset and philosophy. Then those are the people that do well, that understand that concept, which we teach, because people don't naturally have it. So we teach it. So the people that catch on to it, like, this makes so much sense. If I just build a relationship with them, number one, it opens it up to all these people. But now I'm not the only one marketing for me. I have all these other people marketing for me. And if one trickles in here, there, that still adds up to a lot more than any one person can typically do, grinding nonstop until they run out of people and got to move to a different city or something.
Slash and burn. So are there professions that you tend to see a pattern with? Are there job titles per se that you see a pattern with, maybe even age or other kind of demographics, so to speak, that you see a pattern or that you actually specifically target?
Yeah, so networking is a pretty broad. We have some younger members, we have older members, we have people that are they own their own business or they're starting their own business. So the entrepreneurs are always good in the networking arena, because their livelihood depends on relationships and creating trust. Sales professionals do very well, and of course, they're the realtors and the professional services and insurance and all those kind of things do very well, and because they're all trust based. All of them. So basically, industries where it's trust-based and they need people, those are all good fits for our group, because it's not something that's just fast, selling a T-shirt or something like that. They need to have some kind of relationship for people to do business with them. And the reality is that most people, no matter what industry we're in most cases, people can go somewhere else to get something similar to what we offer. They can go somewhere else. So it really comes down to that relationship and who we trust. And even when we shop ourselves, typically we'll ask for a referral. Hey, who do you know that's good at doing auto repairs on a Mini Cooper? And then the referral is going to be even better than like just
random search or
random search. Yeah.
Speaking of which, so how do you foster that interaction and potential relationship with members? How is, like, I always think of, like, there's stuff that you've architected of how a meeting is run. Like, what's that agenda like? Is it, specifically, is it a 2-hour meeting? Is it a 1-hour meeting? How does a meeting, is constructed? How have you put that together? And then how are you fostering that relationship building or the interaction outside of the meeting?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's varied with each of the event. Like I said, we have 8 different events, and that's intentional because each creates a little bit different experience.
So when you say 8 different events, not just the same type of event 8 times, it's 8 different types of events.
Yeah, 8 separate types of events.
Okay.
One for influencers in the evening. We have a luncheon, which reaches a different crowd. We have an early morning virtual coffee shop that we host. We have a training event. We have a drive-through at Chick-fil-A, so we drive through and have lunch in our cars across from each other in the parking lot. So it's kind of like hanging out in high school again. But so we have different things. So as far as like how do we create it, I think the key is, even though there's a variety of different types of events, the key is really that, giving people the opportunity to connect and taking away some of the anxiety and fear. So what causes anxiety and fear is the unknown. When people come to an event, they don't know what to expect. That causes anxiety and fear. When they actually build up the courage enough to show up for the first time, there's more anxiety, fear, like, because the first thing they're thinking is like, everybody knows each other except for me. They think everyone
Sure.
always thinks they're the only new person, whether it's true or not.
Right.
They think they're the only new person. So as far as like structure or like how do we flow it, one of the key things is right up front to make people feel welcome and comfortable. So that might be, going up to them and introducing yourself and asking them about themselves and having them share. And then from there, that's not enough, because we've seen organizations where they have people, greeters, so to speak, hey, how are you doing? How you doing? How you doing? All that kind of stuff, but there's no connection. So what we want to do is to create a connection, and then from there, introduce them to somebody else. So if we do that, so like if you come to one of our events and say, hey, Vic, this is Tony, Vic, and then now you know me, now you know Tony, and automatically you're more relaxed. Now, whatever else is happening in the room, you're not as worried about it because you already got a couple of friends. And then Tony takes you and introduces, hey, have you met Sally? Sally, meet Vic. Vic does this and Sally does this. Hey, just want to introduce you guys real quick. All of a sudden, you create that culture to where you're not just wandering around and looking at people and trying to make eye contact and wondering if you're
trying to break into a clique or break into one of those threesomes and
break into the circle. I don't know. They're just talking about their vacation.
The cipher.
Yeah. So that's one of the keys, is to just make sure that people, to where it's structured enough to where people are aware of making those introductions and being conscious of it and knowing the benefits of doing that.
So take us through, is a typical event, is it an hour, 2 hours? Like how have you orchestrated these 8 different events?
Yeah, our shorter events are 1 hour.
Okay.
And so when I say 1 hour, that means that the program is for an hour. So it might be like, 5, 10, 15 minutes up front for open networking, arrival, greeting, and then we start the official introductions. Here's about our group. Here's how it flows. Here's the culture. Here's best practices and tips. And then go into an activity or something to where we can get them to meet one another again in a comfortable way. And then we might go to open networking. So it could be as short as an hour. And then sometimes we go up to 2 hours or more, depending on how big the event is and how many people are going to be in attendance.
And so people are RSVPing beforehand, obviously, right? So how many people are showing up.
Yeah, most of the time, they're not always super reliable. There are people that show up without RSVPing, and there are people that
I know the feeling
don't show up. So typically, we have a RSVP list, so we have an idea, but it's never exact. But we have an idea, and what I do is make sure that we're planned for either way. So we plan for the biggest turnout that could show up, so that we don't get overrun.
Right.
And then typically, if you do that, then no matter how small it is, having just the right mindset that no matter who is here, like if you're expecting 50 people and 20 people show up, that's the 20 people that you serve. That's the 20 people that you create an amazing experience for. And
everything is a one-on-one conversation multiplied by how many people are in the room. So even if there are 3 people, that's 3 great one-on-one conversations. So it's fantastic. So that's cool. So how do you foster that interaction among members, and do you foster the interaction among members outside of these 8 events? How does that happen?
Yeah, and that's not by accident, because people aren't taught these skills, and that's what I learned through networking, is that you can meet, and it's like, hey, Vic, it was nice meeting you at the. It's like nice meeting you today. Hope to see you again soon. And then we both walk our own directions, didn't exchange contact information.
Right. We've got an inbox waiting for us. We've got a calendar of appointments waiting for us. We've got family stuff waiting for us. So maybe I'll see you.
Yep. It's just left a chance. And, that's probably not going to happen, because people get busy and we forget about each other and don't even remember we met. And so that's typically what happens. And people wonder why, networking doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just people don't know how to network. So how do we foster those connections beyond the meeting? In the meeting is explaining the importance of this, like just what we're talking about here, of saying, here's what happens, and kind of joke about it. Like people, hey, it's nice meeting you.
I call it out.
Never see you again. So if it brings it to their awareness, and now we give them some tools to connect. So we'll say, whatever social media you're on, connect on Facebook, connect on LinkedIn, because it gives you the opportunity to learn more about somebody. It gives you opportunity to stay in touch every time they post. And one of the keys everyone wants to do anyways to stay top of mind, you could do it by emailing them and texting them, but that can become invasive, as we all know. You can only, even if it's a pleasant like, hey, good morning text, but you do it like every 3 days or something, that can be kind of awkward and weird. But social, it's designed like that. So it's your choice. You're scrolling through it and you're seeing them. So every time they see you, you don't have to keep reminding them like, hey, I'm a realtor, I'm an insurance person, whatever, because they already know that. Now you just have to stay top of mind, which is the fun part. You could share your burrito, you could share your car show, you could share all the kinds of stuff. You're at the gym, you're out with you're on a date, it doesn't matter. But now you get to stay top of mind, because you don't have to keep saying, hey, I sell insurance, because they already know that. So that's kind of what we do, is we help people to understand how that works, to stay in touch on social, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever they use. Not a last resort if they don't, to also make sure they exchange, I mean, not a last resort, but also exchange contact information, their phone number and their emails. They always want to be able to exchange that as well, so they can send direct messages to each other.
Which to some extent, like, if you're helping them to get connected on LinkedIn or Facebook, et cetera, the contact information is sort of kind of available or availed to them in one way or another, so that they can. Is there any kind of membership directory or any kind of membership portal or anything like internal to the community?
Yeah, we do have a website where it has some of our ambassadors. So we have a large group. So most of it is done through Facebook and Meetup.
Yeah.
We have over 7,500 members combined. By the time I take out, it's over 85 or almost 9,000, I think. But we take out duplicates that some are in both groups. So we're probably close to 7,500. So we use our Facebook as the main way, because it's just a lot more open and social. We also have a website that features some of our ambassadors, which is our program that gives people more visibility. So our group is free to join. So we kind of reversed the model of the group. So it's free to join. So it allows our community to grow larger with people that just want to serve, or people that, they're brand new. So it's easier for them to come to a free event.
Sure.
And then we teach people how to utilize this model. And then we have an upgraded membership type thing where it provides extra visibility exposure, which is what sustains the group financially and continues to work. But like even the nature of free, and people don't understand how to utilize a group to grow their primary business, is, for example, most people want to be able to get an appointment, because how else are you going to get you're not going to get any sales if you don't meet with anybody. So they want to go straight for the appointment. But sometimes that's awkward, especially when people think that's what you want to do and they're already finding excuses for why they can't meet with you. It's like, hey, I wanted to meet you and see when you're free. Yeah, I'm busy that day. It's like, wait, I didn't give you the day that I wanted to sorry, what day? Oh, yeah, yes, I am busy that day. Let me even check my calendar. So, but that's what happens when people are already averse to that.
They've got that guard up. It's like walking into a store. No, I'm just looking. When you actually do need help.
Actually, I do need help. But that's the first reaction. So what if people can invite their new contacts? Like, hey, so where else do you network? Oh, have you heard of this group? We'd love to invite you to connect a group. There's like 8 different events. We have morning, we have evening, we have this and this. Oh, that's cool. Here, let me give you the website. Which one can you come to? I'd love to meet you there. So it's opportunities to have conversation, meet at the event, continue the dialogue, and then get to know each other. Say, hey, Vic, I enjoyed meeting you here. Glad we're able to meet in person. I'd love to meet you for one-to-one, just get to know you a little bit better. So there's a progression and a system in there, but it's a lot more relational, where people don't feel like they're I don't know, like they're commodity.
Right. Like you're just handed an application.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. That's tremendous. I'm taking notes while you're speaking, so I'll talk about some of my takeaways from what you're sharing. So this is really insightful. So thank you, Chris. So I've noticed along the way, and as I do nearly weekly of these interviews, that very often these types of groups and communities, business groups especially, I want to say especially business groups, but just about every kind of community, either is architected and contrived in maybe a good way, or it happens by happenstance that there tends to be things that just get repeated over and over again. Either phrases that are repeated often, jargon that they kind of use, inside jokes, maybe it's an opening ceremony, so to speak, a ritual, so to speak, things that are being repeated over and over again, either as slogans and battle cries, and there are a variety of things that communities know that they're kind of part of this thing as a gathering, as a group, and it's a badge in one way or another, literally or figuratively. Is there anything like that with Connected? Is there things that you've seen members, or maybe you yourself have architected that members are repeating and that you guys repeat also within the meeting? Are there sayings, phrases, opening rituals, and things like that? Closing rituals?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. One is relationships first, that we are all connected and that we're better together, which is
All right.
absolutely true.
Yeah.
And one of our rituals at the end of the event, as people start thinning out, there's always that certain group that is like last and they just don't go home.
Sure.
So what we started doing is at the very end of the night, we have what's called last one standing.
All
And so
right.
whoever is last after everyone's gone, it might be 30, 45 minutes, an hour after the event already ended, and you still have your diehard people that are just loving the conversations. So we'll all, get in a selfie and take a picture with all the people that were there.
All right.
So we always have like a big group picture. We'll have individual pictures with everyone, people
Cool.
in action, but we'll always have that last one standing, which is like the true diehards that are there till the very end, because that's something I promote too, is staying till the end of the event. That's when you
Sure.
make some of your best connections, because there's less anxiety. People have already been there for a while, they're comfortable, and there's no time frame, there's no agenda.
Right.
So it's a better conversation, more memorable. So it's something that I used to also encourage that to stay after, because if you're running out at the scheduled time or even a few minutes before, you're missing out on a ton. Because if it's a 2-hour event and I had a choice to only attend for 60 minutes, I would attend the last part, the last 30 minutes and 30 minutes after. So there's a 2-hour event and I had only 60 minutes to be part of it. I wouldn't be early in or like in the middle or whatever. I would be the last 30 minutes and 30 minutes after that if I had a choice, because that's when the best connections are going to be made.
Not that you want people coming late to your events.
No, but I'm just saying.
But if you had to choose, right, fair enough. So, which goes into my next area, where it's that growth culture, that invitation culture and invitation process. Like, how do you foster that, right? For connected network to grow, members in one way or another are inviting guests. How does that happen as a culture? Are there expectations? Are there a leaderboard? Are there other incentives? And do you use any kind of a CRM or tracking or anything sophisticated to kind of know from a business standpoint, okay, this group is growing here in Dublin, this group here in another city is growing? From culture to system, what's the invitation process like?
Yeah, so the invitation process is a little bit different because of the way our group is structured. There's not your traditional, like I said, the traditional funnel to lead to conversion or a sale, but it's creating a bigger community. So what it is leaving it up to people that had a great experience and a great time. And the reality is that no matter how much you ask somebody to invite people to your group, they don't do it. That's just reality. So you're dealing with like 95 or 98% of people will not invite after you tell them. You could create everything and tell them to share it. They're not going to share it. They just won't, whether it's not part of their brand or they don't feel like it, or they don't feel like they have enough audience, or they just don't want to post something for you. They love the group. So asking people to do that, I got away from that a long time ago because I didn't feel like it was working anyway. I'm asking people to do something. So it turns into me asking them. They either lie to me and say they will, they really don't, which is
right. Either they're lying to you or they're lying to themselves. Yeah. They say they will and they don't.
And they don't. So that's not good. Or they just forgot or whatever it is. But either way, it's like it's not a win-win, because now, guess what? There's like a little bit of distance between me and
now them. There's friction, right? If they didn't do what they said, or if they said no, they feel awkward. If they said yes but didn't do it, now there's integrity friction there, where they kind of know they let you down, but
guilt or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So instead, so here's an example of how we do it, because we're in a social world, right? So we'll take pictures, we'll take videos, we'll take things of the event, and then we'll put it in a post. And so our way of being able to expand and do the invites is involuntary, but in a way that's also service oriented for all the people that showed up. So I take great pictures at the events, favorable ones where hopefully their mouth's not in a weird position.
Right.
If I can't get a good one, I'll ask them to actually pose for the picture, because I couldn't get a good one of them. If I can get an action shot where they're laughing, smiling, I'll do that.
Even better.
So we got a collection of all these great pictures, right? And you could go to my Facebook, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'll put a collage. So if all they see is one thing, they see the collage, which creates one image of fun, and I can tag everybody in it, so that goes further in the algorithm, because more people are legitimately tagged. I'm not tagging people that weren't in the picture, but people that are in the picture.
People that are there.
So it's doing them a favor, because it's helping them with visibility, not in front of just my audience, where I have the maximum on Facebook and 10,000 plus on LinkedIn. So I share it, they're automatically getting potential exposure to lots more people that they normally aren't.
Right.
But it's also painting them in a good picture, because between networking with somebody who's in their living room watching TV or out and about meeting people, having a good time, I mean, just that image of somebody being out and about makes them naturally more attractive to want to get to know from a personal and also a business standpoint. So instead of asking each person to say, hey, make sure you share it, which I know most of them won't, I don't ask them. I just tag them
You
all.
tag them, which is
And then
done by nature. Right, right. Their network is going to see it because they got tagged in the photo.
Then they see it. So it's like they're sharing it without sharing it. They don't have to do
involuntary sharing.
Yeah, they just, but they love it. And then so now they're posting like, hey, well, this was such a great event. I loved it. Thank you so much.
And then they may comment and then they get into the groove of it.
So that's how we do it, through that method, as opposed to asking people to go out and do the activity and share. Because if they do it, they're going to naturally invite people anyway. If they had a good time, if they enjoyed it, and that's how our group has grown, is pretty much all through word of mouth and people.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, that's kind of part of the connected culture. So is there, do you do any actual tracking as a business? You know, this is your business, right? It's a for-profit organization. So do you do any kind of tracking of guests, and do they go into any kind of a CRM or drip system or any kind of specific software that you use?
Yeah, so they go into our email system, which we use to continue to foster the relationship.
Right.
So from there, they go through a message. So when they come to the event, they get we have electronic check-in now, so as opposed to the paper check-in, we went to electronic check-in, which allows us to ask a couple of questions like the event that they're joining, but also, is this your first time joining us at a connected event? So if they say yes, then they go into a different sequence that's more of a nurturing and training type sequence that they would get. So it would be, hey, best practices after the event is to make sure that you go to our Facebook page and comment, and feel free to engage in that conversation and share some of the things that you enjoyed or who you met. So that could be a starting point. Then we could also share tips on networking, on share upcoming events. We'd love to see you again at an upcoming event. Here's our calendar. Make sure you register right now. So those are the things that we do. And so we track it from a standpoint that it's there. We can count the numbers, but I don't put, to me, I focus more on just creating the community and then just letting it grow, because I'm already talking to everybody anyway, so is everyone else, as far as what the experience is like. So that's kind of like our process, is to be able to get more people into the events and joining, and then from there we build up the newer members, which is fantastic, because you're never going to run out of newer members. I mean, that's any organization, lifeblood is always new members, right? So what we attract is the newer networker. They might have a business, they might have been in it for a long time, they might have all kinds of experience, might have all kinds of connections, but they've just never networked, so to speak. And if we can create a comfortable space for them to do that and to foster that, then guess what? Where are they going to hang around? Who are they going to be around? They're going to be in our group. And so that's why we make it easy for people to join, because once people already been networking for a while, they found their group, they found their groove, they have their connections, and so they're set, they're good. So it's easier to be able to, and more beneficial for us to be able to foster and grow people that are newer, and plus they're growing in the culture that we have. So they're not sharks in the thing, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna pitch all these people, I'm gonna get all their emails and send them all a blast. So that's kind of the things that we do. So we do track it from a certain standpoint, as far as seeing all the new people that are coming in and trying to set goals for the number of people that we have at each event. But really what the bigger thing is the connections after, because you could have an event of 200 people, but if nobody connects and stays in touch and continues growing that relationship, it's all forgotten. But if you have a group of 20, but they're really connected and they just became best friends at that event, that can be way more fruitful than having 200 people. So we focus more on the relationships and the connections more than the numbers.
So talk to me about some of the numbers. So in terms of the timetable, you talked about the 8 events. So is it typically like a couple of dozen people? Is it a couple of hundred people per event? Like what is, and how are each of the events organized, and kind of what's the timetable for the rest of the year? Are they going to be in person? A lot of it, you kind of imply that it's in person. Have you done anything that's virtual and not in person? And what's the mess like?
Yeah, and that's why we have so many events, because it is a variety, and there's a lot of groups that are in transition that went from in-person, and we went through the same transition ourselves from in-person and then going virtual, and then a lot of groups lost momentum. We kind of flowed with the times and what we had to do. So during the pandemic last year, when it was really on lockdown, we stayed under the minimum. So we just promoted very small groups. So we changed everything from big events to micro mini events is what we called it. And then we would have different businesses host, a handful, and we promoted that we wouldn't let more than 10 people in to keep people safe and distance,
sure,
and all that kind of stuff, to be responsible. But we would feature different businesses, so we would still highlight them. So that was kind of like an adaptation. So now what we're doing is we actually have a combination of in-person events, we have virtual events, and we also have hybrid events where it's available both in person and online simultaneously. So that drive-through event I talked to you about at Chick-fil-A that we do, it's a hybrid. So when we're in our cars, we're on Zoom, and then we turn the Zoom on, and now we're talking to each other. Afterwards we get out and greet each other, after the event. But there's other people that aren't there that
can also be there
as well. And the same with our training. So we have a networking 101 training that's also virtual, where we can use our platform where it has actual tables and people can click on it and visit people at different tables, and it turns into like a little chat like this. So this would
what system do you use for that?
So we use Remo for our
great.
primary for our primary
for that networking table concept,
because it has a different tables
sure,
that creates more of a lifelike feel where people have freedom to move around and catch up with somebody. So we have a combination of in-person and virtual events to serve our community. And like I said, it ranges from early in the morning at 7:30, but it gives us flexibility. So we even have an event that I don't know if anyone else has done this, but we actually have an event for night owls.
Yes, you mentioned that offline,
So we have night owl networking, which is 11 p.m. to midnight, which sometimes goes a little bit beyond that, and we'll play a game. So it's a different environment, culture for the night owl networking. It's not super formal, but we still create opportunities there to share what each person does, but it's less formal. It's like we're playing a game in between it. So, last time.
And is that also in person, or is that
virtual? This is all virtual. The night owl networking is all virtual.
So people could be in their PJs and hang out.
PJs, and some people have like their wine and cheese, and some people have their snacks and their cereal or whatever it is.
Yeah, their midnight snacks.
We'll play different games. We'll do a scavenger hunt where people have to run and get something, or like a show and tell type thing where they grab something in their office and share the significance of it. But basically just have fun and find different ways to get to know the people behind the businesses, because then people are more interested in learning about the actual business after that.
So you have about 8 events, so it's about 2 a week. Are you planning on any adding more? And that's on a regular basis, right? So every month or every week there too, right? So are you adding any more for the rest of the year, or you've got that schedule going for the 8 every month?
Yeah, for the rest of this year, that's the schedule. It takes a lot of work to plan.
I can imagine, especially if each event kind of has its own theme and structure. How can people get to know your calendar and even come as a guest? Is there a website that people can go to? I'm assuming.
Yep, absolutely. This is www.connectednetworkinggroup.com.
Connectednetworkinggroup.com. Excellent. This has been great. So some of the takeaways I got that I'm going to be looking at how we can do for video socials. We're not really a networking group. Networking happens just, by nature, but we're not structured as a networking group like Connected Networking Group is. People are coming very specifically to get their video blogs recorded, but that doesn't mean that there couldn't be the concept of greeters that you guys do. One thing that we don't do very often, we have videos about like how does a video socials club operate, or what is that 45-minute agenda like. But I don't know if we'll put that in an email, like you were mentioning, like there's a fear of the unknown. It's like, what is this thing, especially for us, where like, what is a video blogging club? That itself, it's kind of an unknown. We made up that phrase. So I think that I like that idea of like kind of giving the agenda, so to speak, of like, this is what to expect. I very often meet with guests before they even come for that purpose, but if they don't even get to that point, especially if they're being invited by someone else, I think that could be helpful. The education that you give and the tools of how to stay connected is neat. We don't have a Facebook group for guests, and something maybe we should do, because we've got hundreds of guests that are fans of video socials and they haven't joined yet necessarily. And then people who have different priorities and have paused, and that could be an opportunity for us to kind of have like a freemium model, as you didn't use the word, but in the world of software that I'm in, I'm sure you're familiar with that phrase, or there's a free option and a premium, we're only, a paid membership as a premium, but there could be an option of a kind of a freebie version of that. So I like that, let alone tagging group pics. We very often share the last component of our meetings. We internally call it the enjoy. It's like, hey, what did you enjoy about today's session? We record that and release that on LinkedIn. Sometimes we tag people, but we could probably tag all the members there. So the fact that you're taking photos of your groups, or even the kind of the last one standing, and kind of tagging them for that involuntary sharing of your members is pretty clever. So I like that. So those are just some of my takeaways that I jotted down typing while you were chatting and giving us your nuggets of knowledge. So I appreciate your time, Chris. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I just see a lot of benefits for you being able to do something like that, because being video and sharing it, you're promoting them. So
Right.
you're promoting yourself by promoting other people is what's happening.
It's a nice win-win. The last question I always ask guests, and it's kind of how we got connected, is through this final question of a previous guest, and is there another business group leader, a leader who runs a business group that you're a raving fan of? You may be a member of that group or not, but you really like what she or he is doing running that business group. It need not be a networking group per se, but does anyone come to mind that you would like to throw some shine on, that you're a fan of?
Yeah, so have you, I don't know if you've connected with Frank out here yet, Frank Agan?
Frank Asian, yeah, I have. Yeah, Frank's been a guest. In fact, Frank is what got me connected. Why am I blanking on his name? Who introduced us? Do you remember?
Clayton.
Clayton, thank you. So Frank introduced me to Clayton, who introduced me to you. So I've got this whole Ohio thing going. So that's kind of fun to get to know all of you guys. And I just started looking at a map to kind of see all these cities in Ohio. Anyone else in addition to Frank?
Yeah, so Janet Davis at the Westerville Chamber is awesome as well. Doing some good things there. You have James Minter, who's one of our leaders, but also leader in a number of different groups. Kiwanis, a lot of service-oriented type groups, and so James Minter is really good. I have too many.
I'm sure you have tons of them, but Janet and James, they're two cool people that you're a raving fan of. Yeah, if you can connect me with them, I'd love to feature their communities as well on another episode of People Love Clapping. And I'm going to wrap it up here, but this is fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Chris.
You got it. Thank you for having me.
So this was another episode of People Love Clapping, how business groups and communities grow. You can catch other episodes on our YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher, which I think I forgot to mention at the top of the show. That's actually what I use to listen to podcasts. I'm a podcast junkie myself, so I use Stitcher, but SoundCloud and a whole bunch of others, in addition, of course, to LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live, just about every Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern. Again, my name is Vikram Rajan, co-founder of videosocials.net, which is video blogging together, fun and done. Until next time, I'll see you then.